What's going on, guys? Kyle back with another video for you guys today, and today we are going to be breaking down my February numbers. So long overdue. Today is March 18th. I'm way behind on this. I'm trying to figure out exactly how I want to do this, and I've also been playing around a little bit with how I am going to be tracking my kind of stuff. So obviously I'm tracking profit and how much I'm selling and how much I'm spending and that kind of stuff, but I'm trying to get more insights on how my eBay store reacts and what it's going to be doing. So I'd be curious if you guys can drop comments down below of your thoughts and what you guys track, and if you guys do track anything other than just strictly profits. But how do you guys check your trends? Obviously, they have some, click-through rate stuff on eBay, that kind of stuff. But what are the things that have you guys found that maybe your store reacts or does certain things? I have one thing that I've kind of been playing around with for an idea, and I'm curious your guys' thought process. So this is my spreadsheet. It's essentially a breakdown of where we are for the year. I track each month down here on the bottom. But you guys are going to see this real quick, and we'll kind of hammer through this. So as I've said before, I have two young kids, a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old. My 3-year-old is at home with me 3 days a week early from school. The weekends are pretty busy. We're going to get even busier during the yard sale and summer seasons when we have soccer and baseball. Stuff I'm not going to miss as a father. The reason I left my job, I used to be a bank manager for 8 years. The primary reason I left was the hours. I was working 50 hours a week, and the writing was on the wall with a few moves my company made. That was probably going to be minimum 50 hours to, 55, 60 hours, depending on the week. Not something I wanted to do, so I decided to move on, and this is kind of where we stand. So for the month of January, you can see eBay, we did about $4,200. Poshmark Mercari, very low. Facebook, we were at $271. Other, we sold some gold and silver, so that's why you see a big jump there. Brought us to $5,900. Our goal is to make $85,000 at a minimum with a $120,000 stretch goal. And I've said pretty much April through January, January through April, I'm not going to be making my goal. I'm going to be below. The goal is not to fall too far behind to make it really difficult for the back half of the year during my busier seasons, during yard sale season. So we finished this month, and you can see eBay, we had a little bit of a dip, $3,700. Poshmark, pretty much the same. Mercari, pretty much the same. I stopped using my cross-list service in January. I was using Vendu, about $600 a year. And I was happy with them, but they had some issues with a cross-listing where my sales weren't automatically coming down, which was very important to me, the main reason why I had the cross-listing service. We could not seem to figure it out after about, I think it was over a month of like 45 days. I eventually just gave up and I left that company. They were very good. They gave me a partial refund for the months I didn't use. Took a little bit going back and forth to get that, but they did honor that. And they actually did reach out to me like a month later after the service to let me know that they fixed my account and that everything was working properly. At least they thought it would be, which was great. Good customer service. At that point, I'm just done with them. I've moved on to List Perfectly. It took me a while to get used to their stuff, but starting to like it. So I'm expecting Poshmark and Mercari to go up, but you can see where it's already made improvement on my Facebook. $897. I'm listing everything. That's all local sales. I'm hoping for the month of March, that number will be about the same. And then April, hopefully we'll see a jump because I am going to start doing shipping through Facebook as well. I've read and heard some horror stories of people that automatically, like Facebook just randomly stop their listings and they're no longer able to ship. And, there's always two sides to every story. I'm obviously just going to get theirs. Facebook is not going to come out with a public post on Joe Schmo's random reason why he can no longer ship with Facebook. But something I'm a little nervous about with the shipping program. But you hear about it all the time. Also with Amazon. I woke up and Amazon gated me or restricted me or didn't do this, that, and the other thing. And then you watch videos of other people that just says, I was able to get through something. I had a little hiccup and I figured it out. So we'll see. But I'm hoping to see that increase. There was no gold or random other sales. And then you see the cards catalog. This is things like, so I do sell some cards on Facebook. I do sell a lot of cards on eBay, sports cards. But if I sell anything like through Instagram or there's a forum sometimes I'll post stuff on. I have a pretty low following on that. I'm looking to grow those. So hopefully you'll start to see more of that stuff trickle in. But profit for the month, we've definitely taken a big hit, about $1,000 less, $4,700. So then we look at our expenses for the month. and pretty much the same. We spent we had just over $1,000 the previous month, just below. Biggest thing was we had inventory costs of $786. A lot of this was driven by a grading company called PSA. I send my cards to them. I had something come in, cost me over $500, but I got over $2,000 in value added to my card submission. So I got a lot of money pretty much mailed to me. So I'm expecting March to get a little bit of a boost because of that. Service, I need to figure out a different way to call this, but essentially it's anything that's not inventory. So it could be buying boxes. It could be, my Vendu subscription. Everything kind of goes into that. So that was $245.28 there. So pretty much the same month over month. You'll start to see those grow, especially as we get into yard sale season. I do need to get out sourcing more as well. Right now, you can kind of see behind me, I'm working through the last of my death pile. I have about 6 totes left. I had 12 beginning this week. I've worked through a tote a day is my goal. And that's pretty much going to be the end of my death pile. It's all stuff I'm not super excited to list. It's either stuff that like is antique-y or stuff like that. Like, I'm not like passionate about listing. That might have some value and a decent sell-through rate, but a lot of it's going to be lower sell-through rate, lower dollar amount kind of stuff, and it's just going to make it a little bit slow, which is why you're kind of seeing the slower numbers. And I was expecting that. My wife tore her ACL last year. My yard sale season was not great because I was watching the kids all the time. I had to do all the driving. So definitely a little bit slower. This is the first thing that I'm kind of trying to break down a little bit here and understand. So you'll see 316 here. That is the day I pulled these numbers from. So I want to pull these on the first. Hopefully when I'm making this video, you'll hopefully see another video for March breakdown very quickly here. But on March 16th, my 90-day total was just over $20,000. The inventory, everything I have listed on my eBay inventory was $22,900. So just under $23,000. I did a couple, I could have easily just divided it and made it life easy, but I decided to start at 40%. I was like, well, if 40% of my inventory, does that equal my 31-day total? I'm curious to see what my percentage of my inventory is that I will potentially be paid out in the next 31 days. So at 45%, which was the second guess I did, once again, could have just divided, made life easier. But we got $10,346. If I looked at my 31-day total at that time, it was $10,476. Meaning I'm hoping that this number will stay true. I'm actually hoping it grows a little bit, especially during the busier season when it's yard sale season and I'm picking my own stuff. A lot of this stuff is coming from storage units, as I said, and stuff that I'm not necessarily passionate about. So it's lower listings. I'm doing a healthy amount of listings. So I'm doing a lot of lower end sports cards. I'm doing a lot of DVDs right now because I've had them stacking forever and I just didn't know what to do with it. And I've kind of created a new little way I'm buying and selling DVDs. But they aren't great listings. It's nothing really to brag home about. So 45% of what my total inventory is if I get that every 31 days, I'll be happy with that. I'll be elated with that. I do have a very fast turnover store, meaning when I list something, I give it about 60 days. After 60 days, if it has not sold, that is going to a discount. So from day 60-ish to day 90, it's going to be a 20, I think it's 25 or 30%. Maybe 20% discount. I can't quite remember what I did, but it goes into that category and it's on clearance essentially. If it does not sell then, after that 90 days to about, we'll say 100 days, I'm putting it up for an offer. So at that point, people can make me an offer and move it. Now, if it's something super rare and super valuable, there are going to be one-offs. I'm not going to do Christmas decor. That stuff I'm actually putting in totes. I do have a lot of room. I have an unfinished basement. And I am doing totes down there of like Halloween stuff that can be going out in like July. My Christmas jackets, stuff like that will all be going out probably like October-ish. I'm not going to have that stuff on my store right now. There might be some trickle effect from last year, but I'm not going to be putting new stuff on there until it's really that time, because I truly do believe that the first 90 days of an eBay listing is when you're going to get a sale. If you don't get that sale in the first 90 days, then you are less likely to get the sale. I've had my old eBay account. I had 2 eBay accounts, one strictly for cards, and the cards had gotten up to a big enough number where someone from eBay gave me a call. And every week or every 2 weeks, I had a phone call with this person. They broke down my store, kind of told me about it. broke down some of the numbers and some of the things that I can do to make my store a little bit healthier. And the biggest thing that they pretty much said to me was the fact that once you get to that 100, really the 90-day mark is when things really plateau. That 120-day mark is really where your store, that listing is considered a dead listing and isn't as promoted as much. So I do want to make sure that stuff is moving quickly, and then I'm listing it in the right time of season. But I'm curious to track these numbers and really understand if I will be at that 45 or higher % inventory log sell-through rate on a 31-day total. I'm also going to be looking for other numbers to be looking at. I think a lot of people just do sell-through rate and, this will sell in 4 months. It's like, but trends are different, right? If I grab a sweatshirt right now and I say the sell-through rate on this sweatshirt is, let's say, I don't do much of this stuff, but 50%. So I'm expecting it to sell in whatever that time frame would be, 6 months. I don't know. You're going into the summertime. A lot of the southern states are yard selling right now. They are wearing t-shirts. They're not buying sweatshirts. The people like me in Rhode Island that are still wearing sweatshirts, hoodies, jackets, we're not thinking about buying a new one. We're thinking about getting rid of the one we have. So it's really, the sell-through rate is subjective. It changes. Trends change. Things can happen in the news where all of a sudden something that wasn't the popular Labubu exploded, and then it cooled off, and then it got big again, and then it cooled off again. So, there's different trends, different things. Just because you buy something today that has a good sell-through rate doesn't mean in a month it's going to have a great sell-through rate. That thing you thought it would sell in 3 months, maybe in 2 months, it now is a 5-month sell-through rate. So I don't put too much stock in sell-through rate. I know that it's something you need to look at. You need to pay attention to, like, is this item transacting every single day? But it's not necessarily going to be something where I'm going to say, hey, I'm expecting this to sell in this much time and kind of set it and forget it. I do want my stuff moving. So I do want to follow some more numbers to kind of get an idea. I think if you have an idea of, like, if I don't change my sourcing strategy and I keep on listing the same kind of stuff that I'm listing and getting it from the same sources I'm getting it, and I know that this number is always going to be at like 45%, if I can grow that inventory with the stuff that I'm listing, then in theory, I should always kind of be at the same level and see my sales increase. So that's my thought process on it. I think that I need to do a better job as a full-time reseller understanding my business and not what the standardized business is, because everyone does things different. There's people that are niched down. I'm a believer in the fact that I do think, if you list 1,000 magazines and then you don't list another magazine for 3 months, you're going to see your magazine sales drop. You go back and you listen to 1,000 magazines, you're going to see more magazines sell, obviously, because you're listing new ones, but you're going to see a lot of your old ones sell. I know a lot of people kind of hem and haw on is which one's which. They would sell on their own, even if you weren't in that category, but I am a believer that if you go back to a category, you're going to see more sales happen, which is why I try not to expand myself too greatly. I mean, I'm an everything seller. I do have a lot of different categories, but I want to stick to the categories of stuff I like, toys, stuff like that. I am trying to get a little bit more into clothing, but realizing kind of like golf stuff I like to do, but realize sports equipment, that kind of stuff, like try to stay within a realm and not get too crazy. Obviously, there are going to be one-offs, especially if something's super valuable, I'm going to buy it. But, if I put a bunch of auto parts on there, at some point I think it will slow down, kind of deal. So that's just my thought process. This brings us down to the most important thing, though. It's how much money did I actually make? So I have a goal of making $85,000 this year with a stretch goal of $120,000. The 85 is really where I want to be, but the 120 would be great. You see where I was for the month of January. We're a little bit behind overall. Those numbers are the same. And then we get into February. So for February, we had a total profit of $3,677. Our goal each month is $7,100. So we are just barely halfway to reaching that goal there. So we had about $3,400 of a deficit there and $6,300 for the 120K goal. That brings us down to the totals. So $5,500 for a total for the 85K and a little over $11,000 for the $120,000 goal. As I had said before, and when I first started looking at this, I'm expecting through the month of April to be negative. I would love not to drop below 15. I'd like the next 2 months to hopefully be within like 2,000. And then for the 120K goal, and I would say, for my 85K goal, I'd like to be around $9,000 behind, because then in May, April, June, July, August, the yard sale season really kicks off here, and you're going to see a big boost there. So that's the goal. I'm going to bring you guys along. If you guys are interested in following me along my journey as a full-time reseller, really the biggest thing for this year is kind of getting my business in line, understanding my business itself, and looking to grow that way. And then the next year, I really want to ramp up to understanding my business a little bit more, to the point where I can get a warehouse if I want. I know renting, people hem and haw over renting and owning, that kind of stuff. But I'm going to be looking at expanding the business, expanding into a space, and possibly hiring like a part-time employee, someone that can, come in, do a couple things, learn the business, and then really try to grow it that kind of way. So I am looking to grow this into an actual business, not something that I just run. If I go on vacation, I would love stuff to be shipped out, which obviously leads into trust issues and stuff like that. But every company that's the same kind of stuff. You run into that with everything and everyone. So if you guys want to follow along the journey, like, comment, subscribe, all that greatly helps me out. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.